Good morning, everyone. How are you? What a wonderful way to spend a Saturday, right? Beautiful day. I want to start off, Christy Zamani, I'm the executive director for Day One, but last year I think I started also becoming a member of the recovery team for Altadena, and that was totally new for all of us. You know, I think what Greg is sharing is we were all caught off guard, right? I remember putting my son to bed and Ryan saying, I really think we should leave. And I'm like, I think we're okay. Until he showed me the photo from our backyard, and I was like, let's go. It's enough, right? And for those of us who had to evacuate, I think it was just crippling being far away and going like, and when I say far away, my family was in PV. And I was just like, how I feel so awful, the guilt, like where am I to help my people, my friends, my neighbors? I had the pleasure of having breakfast with some of the youth climate commissioners. If you all are here, you can raise your hand. I think these are our leaders that are going to guide the way for us and working with our board of supervisors to really amplify the needs of community. And, you know, we were just sharing how it's hard to jump into a role when you know nothing about it, right? And then when you're the community leaders that people usually turn to saying, what do I do? And you're like, I don't know. And Altadena is where our artists lived, our helpers, our poets, our musicians, everything that makes this community special. I was charged with distributing about 300 gift cards. And I took out a stack and I put it for like the people I know work at nonprofits that would never show up to say, I need help, because they always think somebody else needs it more. And that is who Altadena is. Always saying like, it's okay, give it to somebody else, we'll be okay. But I want to say this out loud, it's okay to need help. Because I think so many of the people in our community will always go to the back of the line or not get in line thinking somebody else needs more. So I share that because as we think about recovery and the steps forward as we've been struggling all year long, a big part of it is it's not just the home that need to be rebuilt, but it's the community. And that community was not built overnight. That community took decades to create the beautiful shade trees and the flowers and the neighborhoods and the people and that's not something just a simple settlement, I'm going to say, it's going to pay you back for. That community was special, and it still is special. So I'll tell you, in my role at the Eaton Fire Collaborative, we've been speaking with like national partners and people who've gone through this. Greg just said Lahaina, and my sister, funny enough, tried to kidnap me right after the fires in April for a break. And she's not in community work. So she took me to Hawaii, to Maui, we're in Maui. And I'm like sitting there going, that's Lahaina. She's like, yeah. I was like, she goes, don't tell me you're going to go over there. I'm like, I'm going to go do some site visits. Bye. So, it's just, it was ironic. But I learned a lot to some of the people while I was there. And, just hearing again that community-driven part, that community narrative, like keeping it is everything. And we've seen it in action. As we've had these national meetings, you learn and you expect these experts to come up and show you the way. And what we're learning is that's not it. It's really not it, because every community is different. Our community is definitely different. And as much as we can learn, we still need to do it our way. So I think that's a big lesson in, I know it's cliche, but we are the heroes we've been waiting for. And it's moments like this that are so beautiful, coming together here at Greg and Alma's space, which I had frequented many times in the past, sitting in their living room. People like you that have been the leaders of our community, like helping people grow all along and saying, like, what can we do to give back? So I mean it when I say this work is super personal. It's super personal. And it's okay if I'm exhausted because we care. And we need to help each other make it better and keep things going. So it's hard. I was sharing with Jeffrey from Department of Mental Health earlier. They've been at the collaboratory. Seasons have changed in recovery. It changes so quickly. People were not ready for mental health or therapy last year, but last year around, I would say October, November, we could feel the anxiety stirring in folks as the anniversary was coming up. And we were saying, we need to get some support in here. And it's amazing. I was just looking at the data last week, and we have about 30, 40 people coming in to get help right now on a weekly basis. They're there every day. And that's amazing because it's hard to ask for help. And we're having folks tell us my marriage is falling apart. How can you help me? Like, where can I go? We're just like, it's so complicated. Imagine being a parent. I was saying this the other day, and you're dropping off your kid still at the school they used to be while you're now living 20 miles away. And at the same time, you're moving from Airbnb to hotel to Airbnb. We've heard people move like 8, 9, 10 times, and you're still trying to fill out insurance work and do a rebuild. It's a lot. It's exhausting, and it's a lot. So we need to make sure we keep the conversation going and being there for each other. So I just, with a full heart, I say thank you to Greg and Alma, because it's humbling, and it has been from the get-go to see survivors walk alongside us in doing this work while they're hurting. I just can't imagine. I didn't lose my home. And part of that is like, I need to show up even stronger, right? Because those are my friends and neighbors. But for the survivors that are doing the work while they're in the pain, we love you guys, and we're here for you, and we're not going anywhere. So I'll just leave it there. But with that, I'm going to transition us to our panel, and I'm going to invite our panelists to come join us. Yeah. And we're going to have a human-centered approach to this. We're not formal. We're out here in the outdoors. So we're going to have a conversation, and hopefully we'll have room to get us back on track and also ask some questions. Does that sound good? Everyone's okay? Okay. So we're going to kick off the morning. I'll let you all introduce yourselves. Are we missing somebody? We have Michael.
Dr. Mearns is ill.
Hi. I feel like Michael's working and being on the panel too. We're all doing double roles here. So we're going to kick off today's conversation with like what we've learned from the fires, and touched on this earlier, but LA wasn't the first disaster, and it won't be the last. But this was a really big one. So we know that, and in preparing, from everything I've read so far, it's interesting to see the best models are creating resilience hubs that continue. So you don't just stand something up like the collaboratory and say, okay, we've recovered, like close it up. Like that should become a resilient hub to help people for the next disasters. And as all of you know, with the climate crisis as it is, excuse me, we can expect, unfortunately, more of this. And how do we build back better and do better? So with that in mind, if you all can just take a moment and just share, and we have time, so be comfortable in answering this. What have we learned so far? If you can share from your perspective. And just so everyone knows, you can just share your name again and your background so they know what angle you're sharing from. If you,
I'm doing notes.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. So happy to be here. New to California, actually. Oh, thank you. Hello? There we go. Hot mic. Okay. I'm new to California. I've been in California now for 2 years, living in the Pasadena area. I came in here to work at the Sequoia School, and I was, even though we weren't directly affected by the fires itself, it started with the winds. And that was something that I had never experienced before, coming from the East Coast, and didn't know how bad or what it meant. And then once the fires did get started, we had to just mobilize as a community and work to support the families that were in my school. I was at the Sequoia School, so we had about 30 families and faculty members who lost their homes, lost everything. And we had to figure out on the ground very quickly, what are we going to do? How are we going to help everyone? Since then now, I've been working with the Department of Mental Health. I'm with the Emergency Outreach and Triage Division. And I'm very fortunate because I'm allowed, usually you don't get this from government support or agencies, but I have the freedom to kind of set up whatever type of counseling services are needed based on what we're seeing on the ground. So I have nobody dictating or telling me what I need to do or what services need to be provided. And I can do an on-ground, in-the-moment needs assessment of what somebody needs. We are limited in the sense that we offer counseling services. The grant from FEMA goes until the end of June. We give about 6 sessions in all different modalities. But the thing that is the most important thing I recognize is that community-based support has to take the lead and be at the center of anything that's going out there. It's constantly changing no matter what you think you've planned or have set up. Once you get on the ground and once things get moving, everything changes. So if you're flexible and you're able to collaborate as well as to build networking systems and get the communication going, then you can get things moving as fast as you can. And one of the things at EFC that I'm noticing is that everyone in that building is just willing to come together, do anything that's needed at that moment. And we're seeing that impact in a positive way, because as you said, after January 7th of this year coming out, where people before were still in, I think, survival mode, now they have a little bit of more capacity or resource to say, okay, I can talk to somebody now and I need to process this, because every day I'm walking through the community, I'm reminded of what actually happened. And again, I'm not from this community, but every day I walk through Altadena. I also provide these services in the Palisades, and it just blows. You can't walk through there and not feel something. So I'm happy to be doing this work. But yeah, definitely centralizing and allowing community-based organizations to take the lead is is the best thing I think that we can learn from this.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Hello. So I'm Michael DiMartino from Earthstock Foundation, and it's a bizarre honor to be here today. And I want to thank Greg Apodaca and Nikki and the whole team from C30X, and of course all of you, because we're at this pivotal time where a lot of us are realizing as much assistance that they can offer, that no one's going to ride in on a white horse and do the work that needs to be done. It really falls on all of us, and this idea of radical resilience and radical self-responsibility to bring the solutions forward that we need. So before I start, I'm going to be very brief. I'd like everyone just to kind of close their eyes, and let's just take a moment and just take a breath or two and really bring our presence here, because there's so much information that's being shared. Sometimes it can get very heady, but I think as our speakers had opened up, there's something really special happening. Buckminster Fuller called it a regenaissance, that we're learning new ways of doing things, and unfortunately a lot of the old paradigm has to collapse, and it can be very painful. So let's just take a moment of silence and just be in our heart with this special opportunity to continue to build community and bring solutions to a lot of these problems in today's world. Thank you. I'd like to just acknowledge some of the people I know that are here, bringing a lot of support, and not as disaster capitalists, but as community members and people doing amazing stuff. Ray Sereno, Brian Figueroa, and Carmen from Green Tech, Shack Law Group, all the people that are here to help make this event a success and move forward, not just to have discourse and talking. I also want to say that we were contacted by some of the news media, KTLA and other Spectrum, that are here helping to cover this. So the message is going out. No matter how many people are here, we start with the quality of people. So more sustainable, less toxic. And it really comes down to what I want to emphasize: radical self-responsibility. What you buy, what you consume, your health and environmental health depends on the politics of how you spend that dollar. So let's just all, in our humble way, I'm trying to do it every day. I have 2 daughters. Let's just try to do better. Let's try to be green. Let's try to be more regenerative, more sustainable, and remember the incredible asset, the best asset of the human experience is community. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Well, I don't know how to follow, but my name is Valeria Serna, and as Greg mentioned, I don't live in the Palisades. I'm part of an organization called Resilient Palisades. I'm from the Palisades to Pomona. I've been, as a kid, I've been geeking out on climate, concerned about water, concerned about all of the things, having climate anxiety, not knowing what it was. I would dream about fires. I was in a fire as a child, and the burning next to I was, it impacted me. So for the past probably 15 plus years, I've been thinking about these things, and that's probably why I've made so many relationships, and I know so many people from, our green infrastructure, Rebecca, our biomimics, our soil stewards, our infrastructure, biochar, all the things, because I've been thinking about all this stuff. And through my work doing property management, looking into how do we build these communities, not just the micro individual home, but really neighborhoods, and not just the neighborhoods, but really looking at our whole ecosystem infrastructure, the green, blue, gray, the neighborhoods, the people, our microorganisms, the wildlife, everything, and how it's all impacted by us, right? We vote with our dollars. We are the ones that really have to reframe how we're making our day-to-day choices. So 5 years ago, this organization, Resilient Palisades, came about, and we've been addressing, we've been trying to address a lot of the community needs as far as energy, water, landscapes. And when the fires happened, we were like everybody, we knew this was something that was possibly going to happen. It was a matter of when. The 80 to 100 mile an hour winds were just, as climate exacerbates, was something that we had heard, but we didn't really expect to experience it in our lifetimes. So putting all of our thinking caps, bringing in all the resources, bringing in that community was really important, and coming together. So what we've been doing since then is we've created a consortium, and we're working on how do we regenerate the soil, how we actually bring in all these healing ecosystem modalities, from bioremediation, from creating our green infrastructure, working with communities across not just fire-impacted communities, but also throughout LA Basin, because the contamination that LA has experienced has been prior to the fires and now exacerbated because of the fires. And because of climate change, that's going to happen more and more. And that's not to say that, it's all doom and gloom. It's to say that the community support and that community infrastructure is really important. So really getting to know your neighbors, beyond your own neighborhood is, we were talking about legislation and all the politics involved and all the hurdles and just the incredible ecosystem that we're having to experience now. So, I'm more of, as maybe a couple people know, I don't generally speak in public. I'm more of an on the ground, behind the scenes person. But yeah, it's important for us to speak out and put all these things together. So I'm grateful for everybody to be here, and yeah.
Thank you, Valeria. And it's important to have you in spaces like this to speak out, because we're learning so much from each other, and that's we have to keep talking to each other. That's where that learning takes place. You brought up COVID, and again, every disaster has an opportunity for us to learn. And as I'll tell you, from a nonprofit angle, it was through doing those food deliveries that we realized there's a digital divide. And when we did that, we realized other issues that had been going on in our community that we had no ideas about. So I think if we're good students in the moment, we have a lot to learn from every disaster, from that to now with the fires, and learning, like you're saying, even when the distributions were first happening, it got a little chaotic sometimes, and people were really upset about, they're not from here, they're coming to get stuff. But well, people are hurting in other ways too. Mm-hmm. And is that a bad thing? There's still need. So again, it's just constant learning, and I think it's, I appreciate you sharing, all of you. So as we're moving forward, what do we need to do as we move forward? How can we move forward smarter? We keep hearing buzzwords like Build Back Better. And I'll set the stage by saying, Catherine from HPP Cares, I think she'll be here later, but it's amazing at the Collaboratory. If you haven't visited yet, we have about 30 nonprofits all supporting fire survivors in the house under one roof to make life easier for survivors. And Catherine leads this one wing, which she's magical. I don't know how she does it. My wish would be to be a builder or a carpenter, but overnight, it's an experience studio where you go in there and you are able to touch and ask questions around fire hardening materials and things that can really save your home and hopefully our future community. But if you haven't visited, I would do that, because a lot of that is learning. in a time where we're hearing in many circles, let go of policies, just build back fast, which could really hurt us. It already has. So as I pose this question to you, from your insight and experience, what can we do to build back better and smarter? Whoever would like to start. Michael, I feel like you're ready.
I was born for this moment.
Yes.
Check 1, 2. Strangely enough. So the first and foremost, as our brother was saying, is dealing with the fallout of the human trauma. We can't afford to just put that under the rug or put it in a closet. We have to take the time and space to heal, which can be challenging because what we saw in the Paradise Fire, I was a journalist. I went in 3 days after the fire and everyone had to wear basically respirators. And what we learned is that right after that, there was a flood of disaster capitalism. Oh, buy this, do this, and everybody, it's like, again, like, wow, like, let this breathe. Let's keep the humanity in what we're doing. So I think the human element is a big part of it. And then I want to, I could rattle on for a while, but I think we have to look at what we call full spectrum regenerative designs, like Barbara Marx Hubbard, Buckminster Fuller. We have to look at the human element. We have to look at the ecological element. We have to look at the idea of mitigating to prevent these events. And we also have to think about doing things differently, right? In this situation, even though the human element will go on for a long time, like, I mean, working with Greg has been incredible. Like the strength that he has and just the human moments we've had of like, oh my God, Greg, like my heart just breaks for you. But we're here now to start the testing, the remediation, and really to expose what's really going on. And we're doing it as community. So I think that's, initial way to start. But think about, again, full spectrum design. How do I spend my money? What do I buy? What do I put in my body? What do I put in my house? Cleaners, land management. What am I building with? As we know, a lot of this area has been poisoned by some of the lead paint, the old houses, a lot of materials, tires, cars, lithium batteries. Again, we'll learn more from professionals, but I think we just have to have a little more conceived ideology of how to make the change. The one thing I want to suggest is everyone, if you go to YouTube at your convenience and look built or designed for disaster, there's a film that came out decades ago about exactly what happened that tried to raise the flag of awareness about how do we prevent what happened. So it's an amazing film. You might enjoy it, but that's just a few ideas. Designed for Disaster. It's a film that was put out a few decades ago.
Thank you. Valeria, want to jump in?
How do we build back better? Well, I guess we have to define what better is. Like, what kind of standards are we looking for? Are we looking for build back now? Or are we looking for, 50, 10 to 100 years from now? Coming together is key, right? Learning. Some things might work now. Some things might not work down the line as we constantly improve and we figure things out. But I think to the core, we're all here because we're talking about soil. And we know that is our, grounded truth. We know that will always hold us, our home, our planet. We mentioned Buckminster Fuller, and he has a spaceship Earth, right? No one is cargo. We're all crew. So everybody coming together to navigate, to bring out their strengths, what specialties and what things people are really interested in. Building back has so many layers from your structure, your infrastructure, all of the things that, get put into a big urban plan, but also how we build back as, humans, right? As our own mental well-being and our choices from the day to day. So building back better.
Or actually, you can even pivot that to, are we moving forward smarter? Or from when we are or we're not? Like, what should we be doing? I think you're touching on all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think just tragic, there's, so in compost, right? Or in many systems, it takes the rotting of something in order to create something beautiful, soil. And that's basically what we're having. We've had these systems that are being decomposing and destroyed, and I hear the buzzing of a drone. Yeah. We're live. But systems have to change, and unfortunately takes, these chaotic, catalysts to do that. And I do see that we're, on a path to build back better, to be better, because we're here, because people are working within their communities. People are working within the ecosystem to actually try to understand where have things not worked out and how can we improve. And we have thousands of years of civilizations that have built within their ecosystems and have thrived. And we've kind of forgotten, or we've been, led in other directions. But we have an opportunity now to really see where we can actually build communities that are in alignment with Earth, that are in alignment with our greater, planet.
Thank you.
I'm hearing everything talking. Everyone's speaking today. I was reminded in World War II when England was being bombed after recovering from and rebuilding. The thing that came out of the war, that tragedy, was that they understood the importance of universal health care, and that everybody should have access to any form of support that they need. I think that the way I watch and I see communities coming together, grassroots efforts, community organizing, we're doing the best that we can. But even with the program I'm doing, what's in my mind, I'm going, what's going to happen after we leave in June? So we're able to mobilize and get to places and spaces where people are needed. And just to talk about the human part of it, even with everything that's going on in our society politically, how do I get those resources to families that need it? For Spanish-speaking families who might be afraid to come out and ask for help because of what's going on in the country, how do I help and support the elderly population, where what I'm noticing now, there's a lot of abuse going on and people taking advantage of them and using this as an opportunity for resources and other things. And then what about, it looks like, in the rebuilding and relocation for older folks who might not have the means or the resources. So are we thinking about the most vulnerable population that we have in our society, and how do we support that? But part of what we struggle with, I think, is that we live in a society still that haven't come to the reality that we all are entitled to have the life-surviving support, water, shelter, everything, and the equality of that is going to really call on us to be able to demand and say, these aren't things that we have to negotiate for. These are things that should always be available to us regardless of what happens. So if we start building, planning, and preparing for that now, we'll be prepared when these things have to happen in the future.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you. As I was just taking a moment to reflect, building back better, we need to all start practicing non-toxic land management. No more glyphosate, weed killers, pesticides, insecticides. Not only are you poisoning yourself and the land, but you're also destroying the pollinators, which is, in California, the agricultural capital of the U.S. and of the world, and are one of the great economies. It's killing the pollinators, which maintain food security. Also, that extends to household products. But a couple things are, there's 100 different methodologies of how to build more green, more sustainable, fireproof, waterproof, etc. One of the things we've been doing in Paradise is having agro-hoods, neighborhood agriculture, where people are doing community gardens. I live in the Rockies. I go out and buy an organic tomato at $6. So, for me, it's an economic reality. For here, it can just be a great way to build community and also to enhance the ability, like our sister was saying, for the soil to produce abundance. Also, microgrids. That's one of the things we're doing. People in Paradise, they don't want PG&E back. Neighborhoods are setting up microgrids to generate their own electricity, because we know the infrastructure is old and collapsing, and there's not a lot of funding to replace it. So that's one of the thoughts. And then I would say, again, building community hubs. I want to say we have a rare opportunity coming up to talk about Build Back Better. We have the World Cup coming, And we have the Olympics coming, and what we're doing today will continue to germinate and regenerate and grow, and we'll be able to share with the world the miracle and the beauty of what's happening here in response to this disaster. So those are just a few more ideas.
Well, thank you all so much. And I know we got to a late start, so I'm trying to get us back on track the best I can. But I just want to say that it is a rare opportunity, in doing this work. In my nonprofit life, we have, water capture projects and clean energy projects. And when you look for that silver lining of going like, when do you ever work with a blank canvas? And that's what we have right now in Altadena. And we have brilliant people. And we have people who are committed to helping this create something that's never been created before, really. So I think that if we take that charge, it could lead us to a really beautiful place. And that brings me hope. And I hope it brings everybody hope here. We will take maybe 2 questions, but we'll go right here and then right here.
More than a question, it's a comment as far as our rebuilding. We've been working with toxic materials, building our homes for so many years. And there is a movement going on for changing what types of materials we're using for building. Cob is one particular one. Ray is one of the leaders. Art Ludwig has gotten the United States and internationally accepting cob as a building material. So part of the problem that we're going to be having is getting the local communities and the boards of building materials and building safety and so forth, and get them on board with all these new materials that we want to rebuild our future with. Because if we just continue to build with what we've got now, we're going to end up doing the same thing we were doing before. So that's a challenge, dealing with the codes and the zoning and building codes and so forth. That is, I see, as a big challenge, and that needs to be addressed as well, because that's what's going to give us the stepping stones to move towards the future.
Thank you. Right here. Rebecca?
Okay, I have a quick comment, and that is that fire resilience is done on a neighborhood level, and so all of the comments here are so very critical to that. And thank you for the mention of Bucky Fuller. Just my background, anyway. I really appreciate it. And then my question is, we're dealing with homeowners. We do site visits for people. And I'm going to people's homes, sometimes the first or second time they've been on the site. The tree's the only thing left standing. Mm-hmm. I think that there needs to be a collaborative push and energy momentum to hold the county accountable for not enforcing the tree ordinance and for allowing so many mature trees that might have otherwise recovered to come down, because that's part of people's emotional well-being and their health. So it ties into the things Jeffrey's talking about, as well as the things the other speakers are talking about. Valeria deals with it on a daily basis, I'm sure, in the Palisades as well. So I guess my question to all three of you, particularly Lahaina, because that's been longer, and Paradise, is, do you see government agencies working together with communities, or do communities pretty much have to do it on their own, or even do it with an adversarial county influence?
Anybody from there want to take the lead first? Michael? Briefly, sorry.
So briefly, there's a lot of pushback right now. I mean, Gavin Newsom has LA 3.0 smart city. So, I mean, these are huge questions between large corporate interests, between governmental contracts. I mean, let's admit it, California is run by a building cartel. On my land in Northern California, in Nevada City, which I survived 3 fires because I mitigated my property, I can't even put a tiny house. I can't do natural building. I got red tagged for doing a tiny house with cob and straw bales. So there is some progress, but we have to put the pressure on because we're up against very big forces.
Ditto. And yeah, I mean, government, they work for us, right? That's what we're supposed to say. But there are these big corporations that do have more funding. So neighborhoods, communities pushing on their county, on their cities to make the green infrastructure the key. right now we're trying to design an urban plan in the Palisades, but we have contractors and cities saying, well, no, we have to do the energy first and the water second. It's like, well, 30% of our energy consumption comes from moving water, so maybe water should be first. And actually, we need to plan out our green infrastructure, because that is actually, again, something that we generally don't put at the forefront. So as we build back these structures, seeing what kind of ecosystem, what kind of ecotone are we working in. But individuals, resilient individuals coming together as neighborhoods, building that whole community. Yeah, that makes that moment. I mean, those are movements. You mentioned, we've all mentioned Buckminster Fuller, all these these movements that have shaped where we are now. This is another opportunity to do that for the next, multiple years.
And I'll just close that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Were you going to say something?
sure.
Go ahead.
One of the first persons I was supporting in the Palisades, who was also an organ for long-term recovery. The story, Jessica, exactly. Yeah, right, Jessica's story. And, so I do walk and talks, and so she took me to her home and her lot and showed me there. Her biggest upset and distress was around the Army Corps of Engineers, the CBs coming in and cutting down all the trees in her neighborhood. And she literally was ready to go out fighting to stop them. She was able to save some of the trees, but the emotional distress that she felt, just like a lot about the animals that couldn't return or come back now. And even if she's not rebuilding, she understood what the impact was going to be. But what I took from that is that, because one of the things I do when we do the counseling session, I kind of break it up into what is your origin story and what is your origin story with the family. And if we had a collection of all those stories and document them, then we can take that information back to the government and say, this is how you have to train the people coming in. Because the CBs, the Army Corps of Engineers coming in, they don't know. They're just taking orders, and they're just doing what they're told, and it's haphazard and random. And there needs to be some kind of liaison or connection to orderly helping them understand what needs to be done. But maybe if we collect these stories, we can get solutions to some of the things that need to be done in the future.
I'm just going to throw a shout out to Altadena Green right here, because they were on the ground since day one, saving our trees, thousands of hours, sleepless nights from the Palisades to Altadena and all over, and got together a lot of arborists to actually start training these, the Army Corps. But it's a systemic, long-term recovery.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know if it's enough, but definitely there are.
Yeah, definitely.
And social change, we can't change minds. We have to inspire people and their heart. And these human stories are what's going to help do that.
1,000,000%. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for all of you. I invite you to continue the conversations, even though we're shifting over to the next panel. Thank you.